PGMOL and Michael Oliver have once again put themselves centre stage of an Arsenal match, but this time we overcame the odds and we secured all 3 points at the Molineux on Saturday afternoon. Let's get into it. Yes, hello and welcome back to Arsenal Unfiltered, your 3 times a week dose of Arsenal coverage, coming to you Sunday evening, 7:05 as I record, so a little bit later than my usual cadence, but I think that's the right thing for this one, because if I had done this immediately after the game, I think it would have been a very, very emotional one. I was not able to watch the game live. Again, I think that was probably a good thing for my sanity and my mental health. Managed to stay away from the abomination that is the PGMOL for a little bit longer. I hope it didn't ruin your Saturday. Obviously, we got the 3 points in the end, but I know people were still fuming, and there's a wider question to ask, I think, around Arsenal's relationship with the PGMOL. I'll get into that a little bit later, but I hope you are doing well. I hope this decision didn't ruin your Saturday, ruin your weekend, and I hope you enjoyed today's Tottenham Hotspur result as they lose 2-1 to Leicester. You can always count on Tottenham to help Arsenal fans in their time of need, as we're looking around thinking that PGMOL are against us and wondering how we continually get decisions that no other team seems to get. You can always rely on Tottenham to come through with an embarrassing, terrible result that just lifts our spirits a little bit. I am going to be going through some of the chances that we made in the first half, some of the moments, but mainly for the first half I'll be centering on that red card decision and talking about what on earth PGMOL were thinking at that point of time. Really, we should say Darren England, the VAR, and Michael Oliver as the ref. What were they thinking? We'll talk about PGMOL's position that they've come out with today, which might be even worse. But then we'll also talk a lot about our team, because I don't want this to be a referee podcast. It's an Arsenal podcast, so I want to talk about how do we cope without Martin Ødegaard. I want to talk about how on earth Timber and Havertz and Rice get through so much running. I want to talk about the 2 18-year-olds that started in the lineup and how they did, and I also want to talk a little bit around David Raya, Saliba and Gabriel and how they are just our awesome security. But it is a match review. And match reviews always start with the lineup. So, this was a little bit of a surprise, isn't it? So we picked up after the fact that Ødegaard was ill and Marino had a knock in training yesterday. So we lost 2 midfielders. It's so typical of our season. We get Nwaneri back, 1 in, but also 1 out. Well, 2 out in this case. Ødegaard going out, but also Marino as well. So we had an interesting midfield. I think the rest of the team was as expected, although I'm surprised Saliba and Miles Lewis-Skelly were able to start. I didn't get that sense from the press conference that they were going to be available. I got the sense that they had tests to do, but I didn't think they would, or Arteta would risk starting either of them, really. It's Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Partey, Rice, Nwaneri, Martinelli, Trossard, Havertz. As we expected, apart from those ones that I've mentioned. Really, really interesting, I think, for the Arsenal board to look at was our bench. 2 keepers, but only 1 senior forward. Nathan Butler-Odeji was on there again, but only Raheem Sterling, who obviously didn't come on in the end due to the way the game played out. Only 1 senior forward on the bench. It's not enough. We need some players. I'll be covering some of those players and who they might be in the Arsenal Roundup on Tuesday. That's not for today, and we're not going to go over transfers today. How did we start this game then? Let's talk about that. Well, I actually thought we started quite well. I've rewatched it since. Like I say, I wasn't able to watch it live, so I've spent my Sunday afternoon watching it and taking it in and fast forwarding and rewinding and going backwards and forwards on things. And I thought we started okay. For a team that has played as much football as Arsenal Football Club have played in January, and I think we'll all be glad to see the back of January. This has been a tough January. For a team who has played that much football, I thought we looked fairly energetic. And we were pressing. Wolves were pressing as well. Give them their due. They were out to get us, and we were in a game first half. I don't think this is one of those scenarios where the red card, completely ruined the game from our point of view because we were totally in control. No, I don't think so. I think Wolves were definitely in there and making this difficult for us. But for the most part, I thought we were looking energetic. And in the 8th minute, Havertz very nearly forced a massive error from Jose Sarr. That is about 1 minute before the first big chance of the game. Big chance of the game. So Havertz is pressing up the front, nearly catches Jose Sarr with the ball at his feet, and maybe we could have turned that in. But then Wolves go down the other end. Semedo powers away from Trossard and put in a great cross after a long run. It goes over Gabriel, it goes over Saliba, and Sarabia is there and hits a very good volley. That is such a difficult technique. And actually, it goes just over the bar, and that moment could have been a very, very different start to our afternoon into the game. I think probably Trossard and Skelly need to do better defending that left-hand side. But, it is a very, very good ball. A very, very good cross. And Semedo does really, really well. Then we had a couple of chances. There were 2 chances that came to big Kai Havertz. On the 18th minute, he had a header. He was being challenged in the box. The ball came in from Trossard. And he glances it past the side netting. I thought it was an okay effort. But not his best. Not his best. And then on the 23rd minute, he has another fantastic chance. Wanyeri and Rice get us out. He finds Trossard. And again, it's a Trossard cross for Havertz. And this one, people were saying on the commentary, at least that I heard, that this has to go in. I actually think Havertz does okay. It's a really good ball from Trossard, of course. He puts in 2 good balls. I think the one on the 18th minute isn't as good a chance as this one because he's being challenged. But for this one, I have to say, I think it's a really good Jose Sarr save. Really good. If I was to criticise Havertz at all, I would say that, maybe he could steer it more towards the left. But actually, he's done everything right. He's headed it down. He's headed it back across in the reverse direction that Jose Sarr is travelling. And he's made that very difficult for Jose Sarr to save. And he's done very well. The keeper has made a really great save in that moment. And I think you can look at that and go, he has to put that in the corner. Putting a headed chance in the corner is very, very difficult, especially when they're playing at the speed that these guys are playing at. So, I don't think that this was as bad a Kai Havertz performance as people have made out. I will come to his display a little bit later on, but I think this moment has been used a lot to be like he has to be scoring that. And realistically, I don't think it is that black and white in that instance, and he's done everything that you would want of your striker. Of course, if he kind of glances that header, completely misses the ball, or only gets a light touch on it, you're fuming, because that is a big chance for a striker to get a chance or a shot off on goal, I should say. But I think he's done what he should have done. And then it went a little bit flat. That's what I would say. After around the 25th minute, our energy just dropped a little bit. And the game was kind of playing out in a very nothing fashion until the big moment. And I've made you wait 8 minutes. 8 minutes for the discussion on this, so let's get into it. Miles Lewis-Skelly apparently executes serious foul play on Doherty for Wolves, as Wolves try and break away from an Arsenal corner. So the ball obviously comes in, it's defended fairly well, but it's not completely dealt with, and the ball goes up and comes down to a Wolves player who starts to break, and MLS goes to trip that player. We've seen it thousands, millions of times. A professional foul that high up the pitch to ensure a break doesn't happen, and you can see in the way Miles Lewis-Skelly runs off, he is expecting that yellow card. He's not even thinking about it. He's not going to argue with it. He knows it's a yellow card, and Michael Oliver pulls out the red card. I can't believe that this was the way this played out. I was actually in the theatre in Saturday afternoon. I was not able to watch the game. I came back out and I saw 10 men Arsenal overcome Wolves as the headline. I thought, oh my word, what's happened here? So I was really interested to see what this was, and I watched it and my jaw hit the floor. My jaw hit the floor. I mean, to claim that is a red card is downright scandalous. And Michael Oliver has been the target of a lot of discussion online. A lot of discussion. And I really do think that he has something to answer for in terms of unconscious bias. Everyone has unconscious bias. Everyone has unconscious bias, and he clearly doesn't like Arteta or he doesn't like Arsenal. I'm not saying there's an agenda. I will never go that far. Unless you see evidence of it, I really won't go that far. But just think back a few months when we were watching that David Coote video with him off his head on drugs, talking about how he hates Jurgen Klopp. He really doesn't like him. Are you seriously telling me that this man is not the exact same with Mikel Arteta? Again, not claiming agendas, not claiming conspiracy. All I'm saying is this man clearly has a bias. He is so keen to send our players off. It's absolutely unbelievable. But back to the point I'm trying to make. He has clearly made an error on the pitch. Clearly made an error. And the fact that Darren England as the VAR does absolutely nothing is criminal. It's willful incompetence at this point. If that happens in a pre-VAR era, we're all talking about Michael Oliver, big mistake. But actually, it's a high-speed challenge. He's seen something. What's he seen? Maybe he's seen it wrong, but it's happened in the blink of an eye. But VAR can slow this down and consider it over, the 2 minutes that they get, or the 5 that they usually take. It's incredible. It's incredible. So let's break down what's been said. So he was not sent off. The original call from at least the stream that I was watching, that I was catching up on the game with, we're talking about as he sent him off for what's called DOGSO, denial of goal scoring opportunity. We know now that that's not the case, okay, and he has been sent off for serious foul play. So I've been on the Premier League website and had a look. Serious foul play, a challenge that endangers the safety of an opponent or uses excessive force or brutality must be sanctioned as I've written senior, serious foul play. The considerations the ref has to take into account: speed, intensity, force, degree of control, point and extent of contact. And then there is a quote: high and full and forceful contact on ankle or above is considered dangerous. I mean, there are so many ways that we can pull apart this idea that this is serious foul play. For one, intensity. So remember that the definition of serious foul play includes the words excessive force and brutality. Excessive force and brutality. So intensity is relating to those two words. Intensity. He's trying to trip him. Yes, this is absolutely a yellow card, but how much intensity has anyone ever put into trying to trip someone? Let's carry on. Force. He's clearly just applying the amount of force needed to trip someone. He's not stamping down. He's not coming in, he's not even coming in at enough pace to push him past his standing position. He makes the tackle and stops. He's not flying in. This is not a high force tackle. And the extent of contact, full/limited. That is what is on the website. So all of these screenshots that people are throwing up of the frozen point where some studs might be on his ankle, they glance past. Watch the clip. They just glance straight past his ankle. And in the end, Doherty ends on kind of kicking up into Miles Lewis-Skelly. It's quite incredible. And the one thing that really nails this down for me is, watch the slow-mo. His foot is still in the air after Doherty moves past him. So this incredibly aggressive, full force, intense, brutal, excessive force tackle that was so important that Miles Lewis-Skelly had to be sent off for serious foul play was so much force that his foot didn't even hit the floor immediately. It just absolutely incredible. And I think there's been a lot of opposition fans come out and say, what on earth? There's been a lot of media come out and say, what on earth? But most disappointingly of anything is the PGMOL's position on this. They've come out and briefed Sky this afternoon, and they've said that the challenge is extremely late and the point of contact is high. They've not briefed them with the fact that they fully support Darren England and Michael Oliver. Darren England, by the way, the same VAR who made the mistake for that Spurs goal versus Liverpool. Maybe last season before, can't quite remember. But he is the same VAR who made that error, which was one of the worst VAR moments ever, up there with Lee Mason not drawing the lines for us. That's the same bloke who's doing the VAR in this game. Incredible that he's still here. So, yeah, like I say, PGMOL have briefed them that the challenge is extremely late and the point of contact is high. They've not confirmed that they support Michael Oliver or Darren England. They've not confirmed that they believe the position is right. They've just come out and not had the balls to say, actually, we got this wrong. We're going to deal with it. They blow my mind, and I want to zoom out a little bit from my anger at this decision, because I do think we'll appeal it, and I hope to God it is overturned. I really do. But let's just zoom out for a moment and talk about this incredible season of decisions and VAR decisions that we've had. We've had Rice sent off for clipping the ball a yard. We've had Trossard sent off 1.5 seconds after the whistle went, or something like that. It might even be less, for kicking the ball, passing the ball. You know what? Less than 2 seconds after the whistle went. We've had Saliba sent off, and I believe rightly so, by the way. But then Mickey van der Ven not sent off for the exact same thing a week later. We've had a penalty against us for Brighton, where Saliba gets the ball, and we've had a justification of that Saliba doesn't touch the ball touches Saliba, which is quite incredibly way of PGMOL redefining how physics works. I really cannot believe the level of incompetence. And let me say this right now. We also shouldn't have had a corner that led to a goal against Spurs. We also shouldn't have had a penalty against Manchester United, which was the softest penalty I've ever seen. So soft. So it's going our way, as not quite as much as it's going against us, but it is also going our way. And this level of incompetence is quite incredible, and this has just become a boys' club. It has just become a boys' club, and I am sick of it. I'm sick of them. I'm so bored of PGMOL coming out and just supporting their mates after terrible performances, terrible decisions, and or the exact scenario that we saw yesterday afternoon, where a terrible on-pitch decision is made, which, by the way, I fully support the fact that a human being in a split second can see something completely differently. Okay? So I fully support the idea that VAR should be there to support refs in exactly this moment. Exactly this moment. But what we saw yesterday was Michael Oliver, because he's head honcho ref, Darren England doesn't want to disagree with him. Because he's scared of him or something, I don't know. But this has become an old boys club for blokes just to pretend that they're celebrities, pretend that they are the stars. Howard Webb does absolutely nothing. There is no accountability in this structure. There's no retribution. Michael Oliver and Darren England will be on games next week. They will be earning money next week. Let that sink in. This terrible decision has been allowed to happen, and this lot will be out earning their money again next week. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. And I'm going to leave this conversation on this thought, okay? I really don't believe in agendas. I really don't believe in conspiracies. I don't believe that we have it worse than other teams have it. I believe that these guys have been allowed to just carry on in the way that they do, and VAR over the last few years has highlighted and exposed every single error, because now there shouldn't be any errors. That's what we were promised, and there are maybe more. Okay? So don't go for the conspiracy angle. Don't go for the idea that Michael Oliver hates Arsenal. Okay? Well, no, he might do, but let's say that he is semi-professional about it and is trying not to let it get in the way. The lack of accountability, the lack of people, training these guys for not having their bias, the lack of basic refereeing training, the lack of us bringing in people from outside of England to ref our games. It's quite incredible, and for me, this is now a huge Premier League problem, because this kind of thing, when rival fans are coming out and going, Miles Lewis-Skelly should never have been sent off, the Premier League have to be looking at this and going, the standard of these referees is not good enough. Just not good enough for this incredibly lucrative an incredibly worldwide product that we've created, we have to step in, because it's not an agenda, it's not a conspiracy. It might be some subconscious bias, but, let's assume that these guys are semi-professional. What it is incompetence at the highest level that is willfully allowed through a lack of accountability and just pure boys club behaviour, where there's fear of Michael Oliver, fear of Anthony Taylor, and these young other refs like Darren England are not willing to stand up to them and deal with it. The Arsenal fans, the Arsenal players, I should say, were absolutely incensed at this decision, and quite rightly so. They saw out the kind of 5-6 minutes of added time, and we went to the second half, and that's where I'm going to take a break, because that was quite an impassioned rant. I'm going to take a break, and when I come back, we're going to talk about the start of the second half, and then, we're going to talk Arsenal again, because that's what this podcast should be about. We're going to be talking about how well our players played in that second half. Stick around to hear that. Hello guys, I just want to interrupt this episode very, very quickly to say a massive thank you for listening to Arsenal Unfiltered. I do match reviews here at Arsenal Unfiltered, and I also do the Arsenal Roundup, which is my news show where I talk about injuries, transfer rumours, press conferences, and just kind of talk about everything around Arsenal that isn't directly related to talking about the matches. And if you have listened to any episodes of the Arsenal Roundup or a match review just like this one and you've enjoyed it, I have a little favour to ask you. Please go and leave me a follow or a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts from. It will massively help me grow this podcast and allow me to keep bringing you content 3 times a week for absolutely nothing. A follow or a review would be very, very helpful. Thank you very much. Right, I'm back. I'm feeling a lot better after my rant in the first half. I'm back and I'm here to talk about Arsenal players and how Arsenal coped with this horrendous decision. So the start of the second half, I thought we really coped very, very well. Actually for the first 20 minutes, I really didn't feel like the game had changed much. I didn't feel like there was much difference. I didn't think that Wolves were really kind of stepping on us and making this difficult for us. But around the 65th minute, I just noticed actually, Wolves have come back into this now. Wolves are just starting to maybe tilt the balance for me. They had a couple of shots. There was a deflected Cunha shot that Raya had to make a really good save from on the 62nd minute. And then Cunha very, very nearly scored from the follow-up corner. And it was a little bit, maybe the energy we've had to expend with 10 men, the energy we've had to expend over this insane January where we've played so many games. I think we'll play 9 games in total in January by the end of it. It was just that moment where I was like, this is about to come undone. And then obviously it was level again, 10 versus 10. João Gomez with a much, much worse tackle than the Miles Lewis-Skelly tackle that only received a yellow card, but he had already been booked in the first half, so he was off. I can't believe that only received a yellow card. It was way worse. And if there was any level of consistency, that would have been a straight red card. Why does it matter he was still sent off? Well, it's about the games that you are banned for. Miles Lewis-Skelly is going to, unless the appeal goes well, he is currently banned for 3 massive games that we've got, including the Manchester City game on the 2nd of February. So we really need that to be overturned, I think, because he's been playing brilliantly and we want him back. We want him in the team. So the Raya saves were really, really good, and obviously the Wolves red changes it for us. One player who came on in the aftermath of the Miles Lewis-Skelly red card was Calafiori, and he made the difference, didn't he? He got the goal. I think it's a really, really good goal. I'm just going to scroll to my notes on it. Yeah, it's fantastic. We managed to get 3 players in the box, Martinelli crossing it, so that's 4, plus 2 fullbacks, and Thomas Partey as the DM on the edge of the area. So with 10 men, we were still really pushing, really trying to play. And actually the Wolves red card, I think, gave us the opportunity to push players further forward and not have to sit in, because it looked like that's where we were going. We were going to start to sit in as our legs tired. But when we got to 10, it was okay. We managed to get there and match them again. We matched them again. Havertz and Trossard were running in at the back post. Again, it's another moment, interestingly, from the other side, this time from the right-hand side, But another moment, like against Dinamo, where Gabriel Martinelli takes the game by the scruff of the neck. We're passing it around, but no, he drives infield very quickly and at pace and provides a good cross. This time it's not met. Havertz and Trossard are trying to get on the end of it. It's just in between them and Wolves head it away. But that ball comes to Calafiori in the end. And what a finish that is. When I first saw it, because it kind of goes in kind of slow and it goes through a number of players, I thought maybe there's a bit of a deflection or it's a bit of a scuff and it's caught these guys off guard and that's why it's gone in. And I was sort of thinking, okay, well, I don't really mind however it goes in. Then you watch it back from the reverse angle. That is a half volley where the ball is bouncing up. He has clipped down on it to keep it low. And the way he gets the accuracy on that and the calmness as well, not to just swipe at that. That must have been his instinct. His instinct must have been to swipe at it, and he manages to stay calm, and it's a fantastic finish. And I thought Miles O'Skelly had a really good first half, up until the sending off. I thought Calafiori was brilliant when he came on defending, really, really well, and then adding to the attack. And I think that this is why we can't be too quick to judge the summer business, because Calafiori has shown a lot when he's been available, and if he gets fit, which can still happen. I know people are like, well, we've brought an injury-prone player again. I don't think that that's fair. He's only been here sort of 6 months-ish, so let's give him a little bit longer, see if we can get him up to fitness. He's had some bad moments in terms of being on the injury table, but he's also scored 2 amazing goals and has been brilliant in defence for us. So let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. This goal is brilliant. I'm really, really pleased for him to come back and be able to do that and score that. And yeah, it took us, 15, 20 minutes at the end just to see it out. Raya had to make a couple of good saves as Wolves tried to recover, but we saw it out. And this is such a key thing for me about this game. We've had 4 red cards this year. We lost to Bournemouth when we went down to 10 men. We drew with Man City, heartbreaking moment as John Stones scored in the 97th minute. And we drew with Brighton, which a game that we should never have drawn. We were far better than they were when we had 11 men on the pitch. So we have had 3 red cards and 3 feelings of we've been beaten by the ref here. We've been kind of. I guess that's unfair to Bournemouth. Actually, let's take the Bournemouth out of that. We've had 2 times where we felt we've been beaten by the ref, and we had 1 time where we've had a clumsy moment and Bournemouth have capitalised. So it was really good to see us have a moment of adversity in this season that we did overcome. And actually, this is a feature of really good teams. It really is. They always say that good teams win when they're playing badly, but good teams also win when nothing is going for them. That is so important. And actually, in this game, it's a horrendous decision that must have spoiled the game for all the away fans. I feel for all of you. If you went, or if you are, someone who goes to away games, for stuff like this to happen must be so painful, because you come in from London and they've come all the way up to Wolves. That is not a cheap train ticket. Arsenal tickets are not cheap, and Michael Oliver makes it about him again. It must be infuriating, but the team managed to overcome it. And I think this is one of those moments I've written actually in my notes. Is this a worry? Because we've had another 45 minutes playing with 10 men, right before the City game. Is this going to exhaust us even more? But I do wonder, is there energy to be gained from overcoming this moment? Is there energy, emotional energy and physical energy to be gained from the idea that, okay, we can still overcome stuff like this. We've had it bad this year with injuries and decisions, but we can still overcome stuff like this. And yes, there was a Wolves red card that helped us out, but even still, we had to battle. It was away from home, and we got it over the line. We got 3 points when everything went against us. Well, I think there might be energy to be gained from that. And my comparator from last year is the Luton game. You could say to concede 3 goals to Luton is a travesty for the best defence in the league last year. And you'd be right. You would be right. But that game it gave us so much energy, didn't it? There was an emotional moment in that right at the end with Declan Rice scoring the header. I think it was the 97th minute. And we had spent so much energy scoring 4 goals in this game. 4 goals we should never have needed to score. We were running so much, having to do so much work. Luton putting in one of their best performances of the season, and it should have been a terrible moment for us, but we overcame it and we got 3 points. Now, I think this could have been the same thing. It can give us energy like that Luton game gave us energy, in the sense that this could have been a terrible moment again for us. We could have been left thinking, oh my God, we've dropped 2 more points, or perhaps even 3 more points, with the idea that, a ref has made it about themselves and we've suffered the consequences, but we didn't this time. I do think there's tons of energy to be taken out of that. Speaking of energy, I have to give a shout out to Declan Rice, Jurrien Timber and Kai Havertz. Say what you want about Kai Havertz finishing, I don't mind. I think he's a brilliant player who brings us a lot, and I think he finishes better than people give him credit for. One thing you cannot question Kai Havertz for is his work rate, his pressing, his energy, his running. That bloke is a battler, and he has got so much will to win. Since he's come to Arsenal, bear in mind, he didn't have this at Chelsea. Since he came to Arsenal, he has a will to win. Declan Rice has a will to win, and Jurrien Timber has a will to win. Those guys are incredible. They are everywhere. They are so energetic. I have no idea how these guys get through it. There were multiple moments where Rice and Havertz were just driving through to lead a press, and Timber just seems to be everywhere. I watched this game. At one point, he was left wing. At another point, he's the highest player up on the right. And then he's back defending, winning challenges. The bloke is an engine. I just wanted to give these 3 especially a shout out, because I think they are some of the hardest working players I've ever seen at Arsenal. And I go all the way back with that statement to, the great teams of the early noughties. I don't think those guys had to run half as much as these guys have to run, because you've got Dennis Bergkamp in your team, right? So you're going to keep the ball no matter what as soon as you win it. We don't have that right now. Martin Odegaard wasn't there. Bukayo Saka wasn't there. So we don't have players that can keep the ball no matter what. These guys will drive you over the line when things aren't going well. And I think whilst we might question some of the transfers that have happened or not happened at Arsenal, what I want to say about these guys is these are all Mikel Arteta signings, and they are all players who, when you are not firing, and when you don't have your number 10, and when you don't have your number 7, and your 2 best attacking players, and when everyone's kind of looking at you going, have you got enough to score enough goals? These are 3 players who can go, you know what, I will force that ball over the line. I will do anything to get it there. And I love having these guys in the team. They really stood out to me in this game about how much running, how much pressing they did, and how much they covered across the Molineux pitch. 2 other players that I think, and we're probably bored of talking about these 2. But Saliba and Gabriel are a joke. They are so secure. I mean, Wolves really didn't have much. They had the Sarabia moment, and they had a Cunha moment at a corner. That was basically it. They made 0.5 expected goals in a home game against a team that were down for 10 men for let's say, was it about 25 minutes total? That they were one more than us. Actually, it might be more than that. Probably around 35 minutes actually, and they made 0.5 expected goals. And I'm convinced, it's partly because of Timber, Havertz and Rice, and they're running and they're pressing, but Saliba and Gabriel manage scenarios and one-on-ones so well. It's ridiculous. I really don't know how they do it. I am so impressed by them every time, and they are just security. They are security blanket that cannot be taken from us. And I really do think that Saliba contract, and perhaps the Gabriel contract as well, maybe next year or something like that, but the Saliba contract right now definitely needs looking at, because it's going to be so massive for us moving forward that we keep hold of him at least for one more contract. Real Madrid can come and get him when he's 28, right? Give us 120 million at that point, fine. But we need him for at least one more contract. Let's see him lift the Premier League. And I also want to give a shout out for 2 18-year-olds, Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly. The first 15 minutes, I wasn't really impressed with Nwaneri, but then he really started to grow into that position. I think right now in his development, he might be better at right wing. However, I saw enough from him today when I watched it, that I think he is growing and is able to play that number 8 role when Martin Odegaard's not there. He does make some things and some errors that I think in that position Ødegaard would never make. And I think sometimes when I see that, I go, oh, just go to right wing because you have less choices to make. And you're such a fantastic dribbler and you're brilliant at cutting inside on your left foot. Just go to right wing and just do that on repeat. But then I also think, okay, he needs to learn this position. That's fair enough. Like, let's get him in there learning it. But I thought he did really well in the end after a shaky first 10 minutes. I thought Miles Lewis-Skelly was brilliant up until the red card, and he should have been allowed to continue. And these guys both, and Nwaneri came off at second half, and obviously Miles Lewis-Skelly was removed just before the first half, or the half-time break. So I wanted to give them a shout out. I thought they were really good. We have a really much wider conversation about PGMOL to talk about, but, for me moving forward, this, like I said before, this is something we can gain energy from. And if we can gain energy about, we can do this, we can win games no matter what. Well, going into a game against City, I think that is absolutely massive. And we need that kind of energy. We need that belief back in the team. And I think we will have gained a lot of belief out of this game because we were wronged. We were told, sorry, you're down to 10 men again. Deal with it, basically, by Michael Oliver. And we came out with the 3 points. Fantastic that Calafiori scored. Fantastic that he's back. Hopefully the appeal for the Miles Lewis-Skelly red card goes well and we get him back for the next 3 games. But I want to leave you on the idea of say what you want about Arsenal. Say what you want about their finishing and how dangerous they are in the final third and whatever. This is a team that right now are without so many players. Yesterday we were out with sorry, I'm going to try that again. We were without Mikel Merino, Martin Ødegaard, Ben White, Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Jesus, Takahiro Tomiyasu. These are players that would just sit into any other Premier League team and they would be stars, okay? Bukayo Saka is potentially one of the best players in the world. We are without him. We are still second in this league, okay? We keep going. We are carrying on. And in games like yesterday where it wasn't pretty, they had to grind it out, they had to work it through, this team can still win. Okay, and I look just round the corner at our North London rivals, Tottenham, losing to Leicester in a bad scenario. They have a lot of injuries, but so do we, and so do a lot of other teams. And I think it could be a hell of a lot worse. I look at Manchester United, who are currently playing Fulham, and I think it could be a hell of a lot worse. So you know what? I really, really love this club, and I think it's so important to remember that despite us not having signed someone yet, and despite us maybe thinking we need a bit more from Martinelli, and Havertz should have finished X chance, and Trossard should do Y, and all of that stuff. These are champagne problems, because when something like a ridiculous red card call is presented to us, and we are told to deal with it, we deal with it. And, we look back at the Brighton games where we've had terrible decisions, both of them. We look back at City, we look back at, the first Wolves game where that chokeslam happened on Kai Havertz. That's that one that's just popped into my memory. We look at all of those games, we think, maybe we should have done better, especially the ones we drew. And then I think, but we're drawing these games. City couldn't beat us when we had 10 men. Wolves couldn't get past us yesterday when we had 10 men. We are doing brilliantly, and imagine this happening to Tottenham. Imagine this happening to Manchester United, or even Chelsea, who are currently on a slide. All these other teams, if they were met with any of this level of adversity, they'd crumble, and they are crumbling. We keep going. We are running through brick walls for our manager, and I love to see it. I love that the team has a will to win, and don't think about the PGMOL thing. I don't want to say don't think about it, but don't be so angry about it that you forget how good this team are and how much effort they are expending to get us 3 points when everyone is spitting in our faces. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for following. Thank you for listening. Like I said in the middle, if you've liked this episode or any episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, please give me a follow or a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts at. That would be really, really helpful. Like I also said at the start, Arsenal Roundup on Tuesday. That will be coming. I will cover the Girona game on Wednesday night, but I'll do the pod on Thursday morning, so that will be out then. And then I am at the Manchester City game. That will be a slightly different style of podcast from me. I'm going to try and do something slightly different next weekend. So let's see how that goes. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll speak to you very, very soon.